Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a recommendation video that is in collaboration with Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. She reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do a favorite Rakes and Wallflowers recommendation video, and I was like, yes please. Bridgerton does come out at the end-ish of March, and I am like, give me all the historical romances, and so I love a good Rake hero. I love a good Wallflower heroine. Some of these have both, some of them only have one, but make sure you check out Crystal's video. I love Crystal so much. She reads so much that I do, and even more. She loves fantasy, historical, contemporary, mafia, dark, everything that I read, and I love her recommendations, so check her out. We probably have some of the same recommendations because I feel like there are staple historical romance books for these two tropes, I guess you would call them, but I am excited to share with you some of my recommendations. I have like 10, so we'll get into it. Do we want to start with the Rakes or the Wallflowers, or both? I'm just gonna get the most obvious one out of the way. This one literally has Wallflower in the series title, but I'm choosing the one that has like the Rake hero, and that is Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. This one is one of the original copies with stunning step back of Evie and Sebastian, and now I would recommend reading the series in order. I read this after 1 and I skipped 2. We get a lot of important background information about Sebastian in book 2, so read the series in order. But Evie's definitely a Wallflower. They're all Wallflowers. They band together to get husbands, and so they're really close friends, and I love seeing all the friends throughout the series. They all get their own book, and the Wallflower Christmas was really sweet as well because we get to see all of them in a new heroine. But in this one, Sebastian, he's a villain. He tried to kidnap someone in the second book, and Evie decides to offer marriage to her, and for reasons, and they fall in love, and she's definitely a Wallflower, he's definitely a Rake, he has a reputation, he's a villainous character, but they do fall for each other, and I think that this is just a beloved historical romance that definitely deserves the hype. So if you want both of those characters in a book, read this. Another one that has both that I don't see around a lot is The Wicked Wallflower by Maya Rodale. In this one, our heroine puts out in the paper on accident that she is engaged to a notorious rake in town, and he sees it and he actually needs money for an investment, and he thinks that having a betrothed would help him get this money because he gets it from this like fun family game that's at this woman's house who's basically like a grandmother to him, and there's this competition every year of who's going to be in her will, and it changes every year, and just whoever wins the year she dies like gets it all. And so he invites her and says like, let's keep up this engagement, it'll help your reputation, it'll help me, we'll do it together. This one was a really fun romance, and the series is actually called like the Bad Boys and Wallflowers series, so I feel like it's from a lesser known author that's kind of like the Wallflower series by Lisa Kleypas. We have 3 friends who are Wallflowers. I haven't had the chance to continue on the series, but I really want to, so I would definitely recommend checking this out if you like the Wallflower trope. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and switch between each one. The next one has Rake in the title, and our heroine is a spinster, so I feel like if you're a spinster, you're pretty much a Wallflower as well, because you're just like looked over by everybody, and that is 9 rules to break when romancing a Rake. And in this one, our heroine's a spinster. We do have another lovely double page step back in this one, and she is just like, I'm gonna be alone, I'm gonna be a spinster, and so she decides to make a list of things she wants to do since she doesn't have to worry about her reputation anymore, and she keeps on running into our hero, and like she wants to fence, kiss someone passionately, smoke and drink scotch, ride astride, fence, attend a duel, fire a pistol, gamble, all those things. So she just is like, I don't care what people think of me anymore, and so she, like I said, always runs into our hero though, and they end up falling for each other. He's definitely a Rake. It's got Rake in the title, and he is a Marquess, yes, and so I really loved his character. This is such a good historical romance, especially if you want to get into the genre, but this one has both as well. I didn't realize that. I forgot that Rake was in the title, but I know she's a Wallflower. Then we have Say Yes to the Marquess by Tessa Dare. This one I feel like isn't as well known of her romances because people tend to look at her other series, but in this one, our heroine has been engaged to this guy for a very long time, and she is like fed up. She's like, we need to get married, and married now, because this is embarrassing. She confronts his brother, who is a Rake, who is actually a fighter as well, because I remember the scene where she like knocks on his apartment door and he's like all sweaty from fighting, and she's like, you're gonna make this wedding happen. And so they have to plan the wedding together, but obviously they fall in love with each other in the process. I really enjoy this, especially when we're trying to figure out like why her marriage hasn't happened yet, and like she's talking about how embarrassing it is because she's like set because she has a match, but then it's like, is it really set because they've been engaged? I don't even remember how long. I don't remember if it was like 10 years or something. It was a long time that they've been engaged, and I love that when it's the other one is like already taken and the real love interest is like helping them like get married or get a match or something. I love that trope, so this one was a lot of fun. Then I have The Duchess War, and this one is by Courtney Milan. I love this book so much. Our heroine is a wallflower like by choice. She experienced something in her past and has PTSD with like attention and being the center of attention and being in front of large crowds, so she does not want attention whatsoever. And the scene in the beginning, like she even like hides behind a curtain when these men come in the room, and she's like, I don't want anybody to notice me. And our hero is a duke, and there's this like scandal going on where someone is helping these factory workers to help them go on strike, like prompt them to, and like say you deserve better conditions and like wages, and people think it's her, and she's like, I don't need this attention, and so she's freaking out. She also has a secret as well, and he's intrigued by her, wants to know more, and it's their romance, and so I really enjoyed this one. He is not a rake, I will say that. I loved his character so much. He's just very serious, and it was such a good romance, and I need to continue on in the series. For a rake romance, one I talk about all the time, but this one, it definitely reminds me of The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. I didn't include that one because I feel like everybody knows Anthony. And so I chose Love Only Once by Joanna Lindsey. Our hero, he has a mistress and he's annoyed with her. And so to teach her a lesson, he's like, I'm gonna kidnap her. And he accidentally kidnaps our heroine instead, because our heroine borrows his mistress's carriage for some reason. And so he kidnaps her, realizes he's kidnapped the wrong woman, and is horrified that her reputation is ruined. So people hear about it, and she has a very overprotective family members that get involved, and it's just so much fun. This one is one I definitely want to reread because I remember I just loved every second of it. He's definitely a rake. He talks about his mistress in the beginning, and I feel like we never see mistresses when we hear about rakes, so I just love this one, and it just gave me so many Anthony from Bridgerton vibes, so definitely check this one out for a rake hero. For a wallflower heroine, I have the spinster and the rake. Now this one is called the spinster and the rake, but I feel like he's not a rake. So, and she's not a spinster. She's more a wallflower. She's very young. And so when you're a spinster, that means you're like beyond marriage age and you're just gonna be alone forever. And that's like mid to late 20s in this time period. And so she's like early 20s. She's not a spinster yet. And they don't like mention her being a spinster. So I remember reading reviews for this book too. I have like a postcard in here of people saying like this is not a good title for this book. And I feel like he's not a rake, but he definitely is on the autism spectrum, but that wasn't like diagnosed back then. He just doesn't understand like social cues, and he doesn't like being around people. People don't understand him at all, but they want to marry him because he's a duke. And so they meet in his library. She's reading, and he's dressed as like a stable person because his like clothes got all dirty and he had to change into servant's clothes. So she has no idea who he is, and he's like, get out of my library or I'll kiss you. And she's like, this isn't your library and you wouldn't do that. And he does, and they enjoy it, but then they get caught. So there's a marriage of convenience. This is just such a sweet romance, but she was rather like reading his library, and she's definitely a wallflower character. He is used to people not understanding him, and there are moments where they have to confront, like she's like, you hurt my feelings, and he's like, but why? Like I don't get it. Like I want to be alone. And so I really liked their conversations, how she appreciated him and was very patient with him, and I just really enjoyed this one. I feel like more people need to read it. I recently read it this past month, and it was just really good, and I definitely recommend it for a wallflower heroine. I also have a rake romance where the hero was a rake before the book happens, and so ignore the giant sticker. I still have to work on taking that off. Flowers from the Storm by Laura Kinsale. Our hero is definitely very rakish. He's very charismatic and people love him, and we get this like little snippet in the prologue of him, but then, because I'm pretty sure like it's him with a mistress in the beginning, if I remember correctly. And so he ends up suffering a stroke, and they don't know what that is back then. He's put in some horrible conditions because people don't know how to deal with someone like that, and they like think he's a lost cause. But our heroine actually knew him in the beginning. I believe, like, it's been a while since I read this. Her and her father were working on like a business thing, and she had met him before. She comes to see him, and she helps him recover, and she becomes a huge part of his life, and they fall in love because she is trying to work on pulling out what is left of him, and he can communicate in some ways. And this was just such a heartbreaking romance that definitely is more on the fiction side than the romance because of everything it delves into with his character and how he's treated in society at the time and recovering. But I really loved how we saw that part of him in the prologue, and then we get to see him and he suffers his stroke and he doesn't know really what's going on, and it was just so interesting seeing him as a character there. He was very rakish and suave, and then turning into this character who has to rely on other people and not be helped in a time where they don't get help. So I really, really love this one. Again, another one I need to reread because I remember absolutely loving this, but the details are kind of fuzzy, but just pick this up if you haven't yet. For another Wallflower romance, I have The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. Our heroine's definitely Wallflower. She doesn't want people going after her for her money, and so she needs to learn how to seduce a man and get a man that she wants, and so she confronts our hero, who's very notorious for his womanizing ways, so I would say he is a rake, and she's like, because they're at a house party and he's already been with some women who are not like of the noble women who are there at the house party to like get a match kind of thing, and so she confronts him and she's like, I need you to teach me how to seduce men, like lessons in seduction, and he is like, no, and she's like, well, you want to open a supper club, I personally know a very famous chef that you want, and he won't agree to be at your club, but I'll get you some of his recipes, because she's actually a chef herself. And so they have lessons in seduction, and I really, really enjoy this book so much. It's definitely more of a social class difference because she is of nobility and she's trying to get a good match. She is an heiress, but she's shy and she just wants to know how to find a good match, and it was just really fun to read, and it's definitely a more sweet romance, which I appreciated. I just love Joanna Shupe so much, so this one, I loved it. If you want a lessons in seduction with a Wallflower romance, you'll read this one. The next one I have is The Many Sins of Lord Cameron Mackenzie. This one, I don't remember if this is book 2 or book 3. It might be book 3. I think this is book 3, and this series is amazing. I love how we follow the siblings, especially the first 4 books are my absolute favorites. Cameron is actually a single father, so he has a child, and it was like a horrifying experience what had happened with his wife, but he had met our heroine, I think it says 6 years ago, Ainsley. She actually works for the Queen and the Crown, and she's a spy for them, and so she was caught by Cameron years ago, and now she's caught by him again. And it's funny because the back of the book says he only loves horses and women in that order, or so his mistresses say. So he definitely is a rake, and he is hurt by his past, and he has a hard time trusting people, especially with his son. So I really enjoy this one in the series. I like how it's kind of a reconnection, even though they didn't really have anything in the past. But our heroine is definitely a really interesting character with her line of work, and so definitely read the series. I think you'd have to read it in order, but like this one's a really good one to get to. And the last one I have is Between the Devil and Desire by Lorraine Heath. This is book 2 in the series, but this one, our hero is an owner of I believe it's a gambling hell, and he gets left in a will like an entire fortune in like a man's wife and child, like that he has to be looking after, and it's so good because our heroine, her husband dies and she has her son, and she's like, who is this man my husband's leaving everything to? And he's basically like their ward, so he makes decisions for them and takes care of them until the son can inherit the title, and she has no idea like why her husband left him that, and they start falling for each other, and it's so good. And our hero is definitely someone with a past of rakish ways, and he grew up on the streets, so he has seen a lot and doesn't really know the life of nobility that well, but I really enjoy this. There's a surprise at the end because Lorraine Heath loves her twist, but this one was definitely a really great romance to read about, especially with two people from different walks of life who don't trust each other and then start falling for each other. And then there are things with child abuse in here with certain characters, so know that going in, but I really loved her as a single mom, and I loved her son and how protective our hero was over her son. Definitely check out this series as well. And those are my Wallflower rake recommendations. Let me know if you have any more in the comments down below. Like I said, it's really hard to remember if a hero was a rake or not because he obviously like gets with the heroine and is monogamous with her, so it's hard to remember until I read the synopsis. Oh yeah, he was a rake, but you know, he changed his ways for his woman. But I love a Wallflower heroine. I'm excited to watch Crystal's video, so make sure you go check out her video as well. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.